I'm just gonna start with questions, and as you're answering that question, because we only have 20 minutes here, and I want to speed up the process and get as much insights from you as I can. And first, many of you mentioned theory of change in the questions when we had discussions, and so I'd like to touch on that topic. And first, I'll start with Pat Guerra, because you're not just an investor, you're also a professor. So can you please tell us what the theory of change is and how you look at the theory of change as an investor?
Well, thank you. You know, I got deeply into the social sector back in 2002 when we created the Global Social Benefit Incubator at Santa Clara University, and I've been around the field in addition to commercial investing. I think the theory of change, and there's a large body of knowledge on this, I would refer you to the Aspen Institute and a couple of consulting firms. It's actually a concept that's very applicable to commercial ventures, although we tend not to use that term. And it's really understanding the cause and effect of your actions and having data to support that. So it really, if you want, it sounds like the lean startup methodology, but applied to the social sector. And if you really don't have any data on cause and effect, then you've got a great idea, but it's not clear whether it's going to work and achieve the social transformation that you're looking for. So that's what I would start with.
Okay, yes, and can you tell us a little bit about your organizations? Who do you invest? What sectors? And
well, I have tended to gravitate on the commercial side to information technology initiatives and medical devices. Although I invest in SaaS companies and internet companies, actually a lot of IoT. In the social enterprise space, I've been working for 4 years trying to bring jobs to people from the rural parts of Nigeria on a board of an organization called Generation Enterprise, and have helped fund that organization.
Yes, thank you. And Eyal, you also a big proponent of theory of change. Can you please connect us to the impact, and for those of us who are mission-driven entrepreneurs?
So I think I would add to the theory of change that the importance of setting and measuring social and impact goals within the company, especially impact investors are looking for an integration of various type of impact data within the business. So I would advocate that every impact-related business, social business, should integrate data collections on the various KPIs, on various impact outcomes from the beginning. It should be well articulated what sort of outcomes the business is trying to achieve, what's most critical for the business. It doesn't have to be something too sophisticated, even simple measurements. So for example, job creation was mentioned. How many jobs were created? What sort of jobs, quality jobs? If we were looking at environmental measurements, how much CO2 reduction, GHG emission were reduced. If you're looking at gender inclusion, how many women were included on the business, and so on. this should be a part of the DNA of the business from the beginning.
And I guess building on that would be a good question for Shripriya. And the question would be, so he mentioned that impact is a big thing in data, but to see the impact, you need to scale. So I hear a lot from mission-driven startups, and that could be a quite controversial question, but I hear that in order to have a noticeable impact, we need to scale. In order to scale, we have to have funding. In order to have funding, we have to have an impact. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think about the world a little bit differently. I think at a startup level, at a Series Seed or a Series A, you're not quite sure what this baby company is going to grow up and become. So when people ask for impact measurements at that stage, I don't look at the world that way. I say, hey, can this company, when it gets to scale, have a massive positive impact? Mm-hmm. Is it in a general category where it can have massive positive impact when it gets to scale? And if it does, then I look at, can it actually be a big company? So looking at it very much like a venture investor. Does it have the right founding team? Does it have a right business model? Can it succeed? Because if you don't have the right business model, but you're measuring a lot of impact, how can you become a successful business? To have impact, you have to be a successful business. So I look at, are you in the right general ballpark? And then can you get to scale? You look at eBay, where I spent a number of years, it was the fundamental premise was let's connect people and good things will happen. And it ended up having a lot of social impact, right? Hundreds of thousands of people made their living off of it. But it didn't start off saying, let me make massive positive impact. Let me start off by democratizing access. Let me start off with something like that. And then the measurements and the impact came later. The same is true for WhatsApp. It started off texting people about, I'm at the gym. And you look anywhere in Asia, thousands of people are connecting to families in ways that they could not otherwise have done at very low costs because of that business. And so the way I think about what I do is, can I actually see that? Can I train myself to see that, the potential of what it could become?
And what do you invest in?
So we invest in 3 areas: well-being, health, and agricultural technology, the future of work, and human connections. So those are the 3 broad areas that we.
Any particular region?
Right now, we spun out of a Omidyar network. We're a $100 million fund funded by Pierre Omidyar, and we focus on the US.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll turn over to this side of the stage, and we'll start with Aarti. And we'll move on a conversation about actually a social entrepreneur. And what are you looking for in a social entrepreneur? And where would that, what you're looking for, fit into your investment strategy of your organization?
Okay, this is on, right?
Yeah.
So we do mostly seed level investing. So at that stage, it's really the entrepreneur who is the main part of the company because the product isn't yet fully there. So given that, we look for entrepreneurs who have great passion and a lot of motivation. Entrepreneurs who have a strong business acumen, but also actually know how to read numbers and look at books and stuff like that. Somebody who can articulate a clear business plan. And just based on what was said previously, we spoke about theory of change and metrics here. We actually look for metrics and how they're going to track metrics, even if they're unable to track it yet, rather than look purely at goals. Because your goals, you can have great goals set, but how are you going to measure those? So we do look for metrics. We also look for entrepreneurs who think of themselves as true entrepreneurs, because what we found in the social sector is some entrepreneurs still think of themselves as people doing social good, but forget that there's a business that they're running alongside. So we really want them to wear that business hat on and pose as true entrepreneurs who are going to have a financial return. Hence, we are not so much in favor of entrepreneurs who are chasing grants. We'd rather have them go to real, think of themselves as going to real VCs and getting money and proving that they can actually perform. So those are basically the characteristics that we are looking for in entrepreneurs. But as far as their businesses go, we are looking for scalable businesses. Impact comes first, but there also has to be a financial return, so we look for both.
Any particular area you invest in, and what are the regions?
So we invest in companies based out of the US. However, the impact could be anywhere in the world. It's just that the company has to be incorporated in the US. We don't look at any particular sector. I personally, having a tech background and being a STEM gal, I look for companies that are using technology for impact and technology for good. So that's my focus.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. So with that, I guess, because we just touched on a person, entrepreneur, the question for Dan would be, your organization is a poverty, like your focus is on poverty. It's even in your name of your organization. But I also wanted to touch on something. A lot of mission-driven entrepreneurs here, they're fearful of going to VCs. And the reason for that is that because they're feeling that their mission will be sacrificed and they will be pushed toward financial returns. What are your advice on how to evaluate the investor? If I am an entrepreneur looking, as Aarti said, looking for money?
That's a really interesting question. So the poverty in the name, ADAP stands for a different approach to poverty. It's a really good question. A lot of the companies that we talk to are primarily seeking funding from impact investors. But we are seeing more and more companies that started out with an impact focus but are getting more traction raising from non-impact investors, larger checks potentially, and they'll ask us to come to the table because they want us to help them protect the impact and sort of have a seat at the table and make sure that they sort of don't lose that aspect of it. So we're very happy for entrepreneurs to be talking to all kinds of investors. But we also want them to own their power as entrepreneurs and know that they're the ones building the business. It's their business. It doesn't belong to the investors, at least not at the early stage. And they need to really recognize their power and be willing to walk away from investors and really understand what the investor is really looking for and have the advanced planning to not be desperate for funding almost at a runway where they'll take just anybody's money. But to have the power in their idea and their fundraising ability to be able to walk away from an investor that they are really getting a bad vibe from and feel like it's going to push them in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And that's actually a perfect segue to the question I wanted to ask Greg that I didn't ask during the fireside chat. And you have been very successful in being lucky, and how you say you're always in the right place at the right time. So for those entrepreneurs that are here and they are evaluating VCs and they're trying to make an impact and they're mission driven, how they can catch that lucky bug, I guess. What would be your suggestion? Where do you have to be in the right place at the right time?
You have to go out to lunch a lot. But, you know, if you're an entrepreneur, you know, they talk about that 2-minute elevator pitch. It's kind of true, but really, I wish it wasn't a pitch. I wish it was just a story. It's just like you have a moment with someone, and, you know, I'd always practice with my mom. Because my mom was someone who, like, she's the kind of person that she's always worried whether I was ever going to come to anything. And like, when I got that job coming out of graduate school, I got that first job. I'd been a bike racer and a mountaineer. I'd never had a real job. And I got a job with this company, Booz Allen in Hamilton. That's where like Edward Snowden worked. I wasn't in the same group. And I told my mom, I got a job at Booz Allen. And she said, that's great, son. People are always going to drink, so you'll always have work. And, because I tried to explain that first company I took public to her. And, I came back. She lived in Connecticut. I came back from NASDAQ after we rang the bell. And she said, Greg, that job you have, are they going to give you dental benefits? So obviously I didn't do a very good job of telling stories to my mom. But everyone you meet, from 3 to 90, people that speak good English or don't speak your language, you should tell them a story. It's just like you're practicing to be a comedian. You're working all the time. And if you're getting bored, it's because you're telling the same story. And you're telling the story not from your head, you're telling the story from your heart. So all great change agents in the world, whether it's social or it makes a lot of money, I don't really care about the money, it just, I just want to be like that scene in that Kazantzakis novel, Zorba the Greek. He talks the outsider into building this huge lumber system for cutting down the trees and all these chutes and water to come down. He gets the whole town working on it, and when they run it all, the whole thing collapses and it makes a big cloud of smoke, and Zorba looks at the whole thing and he just goes like, wow. He didn't care that it failed. It was just a great endeavor. It was a great story. And so from a great story comes great heart, and, that's it. Clearly great stories lead to people taking out their checkbook and writing that check. But they also lead to people standing up at your door to buy your product or service. It's always about a story. And if it's a story that you can live as well as just tell, all the better. So that's it. You just have to be practicing that story all the time.
Learn storytelling. Yes, and we'll move to Matt. Matt is a different breed here. He's from Kiva, but he's been on both sides, on a nonprofit side and a for-profit side. And being an entrepreneur myself, it's always a question: should we go nonprofit route or should we go for-profit route? And what would be the better to achieve the mission that we're trying to achieve? Because at the beginning of it is always the idea and the passion, and it's legally, where would you go? So what do you suggest?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think having been on both sides, people on both sides look at the other side and says that would never work. You're on the for-profit side and you're like, this can be very profitable. It's be a great business. I can hire great people. Look at all these funding sources. And I think there's great benefit there, and a lot of companies that go that way for the right way, or for the right reasons. The biggest shame on the for-profit side, so I'll bash on for-profit for just a sec, is if you have an idea that can have massive, massive, massive impact, but you're too far away from the profit side of for-profit. Because on the for-profit side, if you have a big, big, big idea, you'll have the ability to raise lots and lots and lots of money before you get to the profit, but there needs to be a path to get there. If you're looking at how would I measure my business in 5 years, it's great to have impact measurements, but if you can't have some type of revenue or profit measurement, you might be skating on very thin ice as a for-profit, and you might be able to raise your seed and Series A and Series B and be on this path for this world-changing impact, and then run out of runway. And that's a real, real, real shame. On the nonprofit side, you have the ability, the funding sources are different and how you measure it is different, but you do have the ability to say this is an impact business. And as long as I'm making impact, I can get the next chunk of money. So like using Kiva as an example, as long as we keep helping serve more unbanked people, there will almost always be more money to fund us to go to the next 100 people and the next 1,000 people and the next 1,000,000 people. If we were a for-profit, and we're losing money, which we would be if we were a for-profit, people would stop cutting us checks because they're expecting a return on that investment. So the biggest one, you can have massive impact on both sides. Twitter, huge humanitarian impact based on free speech and the ability to communicate, and there is a total path straight to revenue and profitability for that. Kiva, 0% interest to loans that lose 2.5% every time they go around the cycle. It's a very, very bad for-profit business. And so just thinking about that up front, like if you look 5 years out, are you too far from revenues and too far from profit? And is it possible this is just something you do want to subsidize and only have impact and not build a market around? Nonprofit's a lot easier than people think if you have a big problem and a potentially big impact.
Yes, thank you. I guess we're zero. I mean, we're right on time. So with that, we'll bring Anna back to stage.
I'm actually going to call the companies. The first company, why don't you take a seat? Oh.
Yeah, I have to sit here.
The first company we're calling on stage is Countable. Countable empowers movements from individuals to organizations to make impact around the world.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Bart Myers. I'm the founder and CEO of Countable. Really an honor to be here and to be among so many inspirational companies and people and stories from all over the world. The conversations that I've had in the last couple of days have really been, helped to both solidify ideas, start to give new sort of directions on ideas, and have just been really incredible sort of sharing of thoughts. So I hope that this is helpful to learn a little bit more about us. Do you have a clicker or something, or is there a? Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Fantastic. So I started Countable 4 years ago. Prior to Countable, I worked in a number of different startups, from being a developer to a project manager to working in marketing, kind of making coffee, pretty much you name it. The company that I started before Countable was solving a really vexing problem, which was how to find television shows online and watch them easily. It was called Sidereel. We sold it to TiVo in 2011, and I worked for TiVo for a little while, and then really had the bug to want to do something again and really start a new company and really start something that would make a difference. So I went after a really, I think, easy problem, many of us would say, which is making democracy work. So yeah, just an easy problem there. We went out of the gate with a kind of a core hypothesis, which is that if we can make it easier for you to understand what's happening in your communities and your society, and give you easy ways to communicate with your lawmakers, to build movements, that we'll be able to affect change and be able to power change. And we took that pitch out to a number of different investors. Think about this, right? It's 2014. This was a politics plus impact pitch. Not easy. So don't go back in time in your time machine and try to do that again. But with some work, we were able to start to really prove our hypothesis and drive millions of actions through our platform. You can download the Countable app right now and get access to the platform, weigh in on issues, and so forth. Whoop, yep, there we go. And I would encourage you to do that. Now, Canaan Partners ultimately invested in our seed round and helped to give us a really significant kind of leg up. And then two pretty interesting things happened. One, we have a new president. And with the new president in the United States, where politics had sort of become something that was a little bit passé, people care, and they care a lot. And then at the same time, something else happened, which is the platform where people were expressing their caring, Facebook and so forth, started to show some real weaknesses around being able to be a civic platform for good, a place for you to actually not only converse, but ultimately to drive action. And so we really saw a core opportunity, which was to take our technology and then power movements, give organizations, causes, companies, celebrities, influencers the place to bring their followers together, to spread the word, to fundraise, to drive advocacy, to drive change, to inform and educate. And this is Countable today. Countable is a platform for movements in the United States. It's an action-taking platform. And I'll show you a couple of examples of that. So first of all, Starbucks wants every one of their employees to effectively represent their values as a company. Think about that. They want each of their employees who are all over the country and all over the world to be able to be informed citizens, to be able to talk meaningfully about issues and take action on them. They use us as their platform to do that. So Starbucks employees have access to a version of the Countable app that keeps them informed and gives them easy ways to stay engaged and take action and participate, and they value that a lot. Twitch, an Amazon company, was under really a significant impact from net neutrality, and many of their customers and users were as well. So they used us to be able to start to give their users a voice, to start to make impact around this issue. ABC. So ABC is using us to literally make news into something that doesn't just piss you off, but something that you can do something about. You see the story, you read the story, now can I take action on that story? And our platform powers that. Again, it's an action-taking platform that allows for that capability. Finally, Chelsea Handler. So Chelsea Handler is using us to not just talk to her fans and supporters, but actually engage them, actually get them to take action, do something. You can't do that on Twitter. Twitter's a place to talk, but not do. You can't do that on Facebook. You can do that on Countable. That is what we do. And so we're her action platform. This is a list of some of our customers, some of the best, sort of the top brands in the world, media organizations and nonprofits. We're on track for 1.2 million in sales this year from licensing our platform. So our customers will pay to use this platform and technology. And we have an amazing team. They also came through a time machine, but we really have a core team to be able to execute on this vision. I'm almost there. So thank you very much. Please download the app. And certainly, if you have any questions, Bart at Countable. Thank you very much.
Question from judges. Did you guys notice when Stas is on stage and he says the time is out, everybody complies? I seem to have a softer heart. All right. Questions from judges.
Quick question about your revenue model.
Yeah.
So you obviously get revenue from corporate partnerships. What about, do you have any organic revenue from just users that sign up, or a way to generate revenue off of those eyeballs?
Great question. So anybody can sign up for an action center for themselves, for their cause, for their community, and that's free. And then there's a premium upsell channel from there. So if an organization or a cause signs up, starts using Countable, and then they want access to our premium services, they want their leads, contact information, et cetera, there's an upsell path for that. But anybody can use Countable for free.
How do you position yourself relative to change.org?
Great question. So change.org could be obviously one of the plugins into the platform. Change.org is a petition platform. That, in our eyes, is kind of one of many forms of action. We'd sort of refer to that as one feature. We have our own version of that, where you can not only affect change through saying, I support this issue, but you can then directly contact your representative through the platform and have a one-to-one dialogue with your rep. Send them a video, send them an email message, make a phone call. We try to build on what we've seen really work well in that space.
So comment a little bit on market segments that you're penetrating. It looked like they were U.S. corporations as opposed to users. Give us some idea of where you're really getting traction.
Yeah, great question. So we are a little bit two-sided. So we power organizations and causes who ultimately are bringing users to us. So for example, Chelsea Handler is tweeting about Countable and saying, go here to accomplish this thing, support this candidate, take action on this. Those users come to Countable to her page, and they then download the app, they then engage with it, and we'll take that action. And that'll get associated back with her. So that becomes her profile. Those become her supporters on there. So it's a similar use case in the case of Starbucks, where they're promoting it to their employees, and their employees come and take action on the platform. That being said, anybody can download Countable and have access to our broader editorial picture and story and issues and take action.
What's the model look like when you sell to an enterprise? On what basis is the payment? Because there were many brands on there.
Yeah.
And I think the revenue was about $250.
Yes.
So
Yes. 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 So the model is basically based on licensing several things. You can license the base technology platform, which gives you access to the analytics and leads and so forth that are coming through the platform. You can license our content. So we have an editorial team led by Andrea Seabrook, who's the former congressional correspondent to NPR. And so they're licensing our content in some cases to supplement their own. And then also promotion, the ability to do outreach from there to the broader audience. There are a few different sort of elements to a package that we'll bring to a company or to a cause, depending on what their needs are.
Is this on? Oh. So is this something that could be integrated into Twitter? Is this a tuck-in for Twitter?
Yes, this could be absolutely integrated into Twitter. We have had a number of conversations with Twitter about how to bring a deeper civic conversation to tweets, more context, more virtue, more actionability. That would be a conversation I'd love to have later.
The one other I thought of is
Yeah.
there's an organization called Ballot Ready that's collecting all the ballots for all the elections in the United States.
Yes.
But they don't have a way for people to signal how they're intending to vote.
Right.
I'd love it if one of my goals is to make sure that every American on their phone has their ballot. And even if you can't vote from your phone yet, you'd be able to express how you're going to vote, so we wouldn't have to have polling. We'd actually have direct interrogation of the data. But there needs to be a mechanism for people to express intent.
And an ID system as well.
Yeah, maybe.
So I know Alex rather well, and we are partners, and we have a whole component of content related to getting out the vote that plugs in nicely into Ballot Ready. So we're going to market really with them. They're a fantastic organization. Definitely check out Ballot Ready if you get a chance.
Yeah, I'm an investor there.
There you go. Awesome.
Questions from jury?
Thank you. Good presentation. My question is around scaling. 2 years from now, where do you think your revenue would be, and how does it translate at a enterprise level? 100,000 per customer, 200. What does it look like?
Yeah, great question. So 2 years from now, you're going to see a very diverse suite of voices using Countable basically as their platform for their movements. Within the company vertical, you're talking about corporate social responsibility. You're talking about public policy. And really trying to push those types of issues. Now, these are very, very significant sort of budgetary outlays, particularly from the policy standpoint. Organizations and companies are spending a ton right now on lobbying, on grassroots access to audience, trying to get their messages heard. You look at what Tesla's going through right now, just trying to be able to sell cars directly around the country. And so they're looking at using Countable as their platform for driving that awareness. Now, from that standpoint, we have a couple of different revenue opportunities there. We have our base platform that they can use to basically recruit and organize and build their lists in their community. But then there are specific actionable fights. Like literally, we want to send millions of people into contacting their state legislatures in California. And so there's an additional revenue opportunity there as well. So we have an uncapped revenue opportunity effectively with each company. And from that standpoint, these deals can be $100,000, $200,000 each. Now, the nonprofit version of this is also very, very lucrative, which is the idea that organizations and nonprofits are seeing value in terms of driving fundraising, in terms of driving list building, and getting their mission out. And so each of those they value monetarily, they're going to invest in, and our platform gives them an unfair advantage to being able to basically reach audience, engage audience, and ultimately then tie that audience into their key missions. Like the key difference with Countable over kind of the prior narrative is that organizations, companies, et cetera, would say, oh, here's one initiative that we want to fight on or make movement on. What we're saying is that you need to keep your community active every day. You need to be touching them with content, with updates, with giving them a voice. And then periodically you'll have that ask. You can't just be asking all the time. You can't be like these DCCC emails. I don't know if any of you are getting these, where it's like, every day, if you don't donate, to the cause, the world's going to end or something. You're going to burn out your list. You have to be able to sort of nurture your audience and give to them to keep them engaged. So in 2 years, we're going to see a very healthy mix of nonprofit organizations, advocacy firms, and then companies from the CSR and lobbying side. And the average deal size by then will probably be 100K plus annually.
Okay, thank you, Countable.
Thank you very much.
The next company is BeeHero. BeeHero increases crop yields by empowering bees, the single most important pollinator of nature, using AI technology.
Whatever you ate today, or even your morning cup of coffee, it all relies on honeybee pollination. And as you all probably heard, the bees are dying. And this is not only an ecological disaster, it is a huge financial loss. What if we could generate strong and healthy colonies? What if we could improve the quality of pollination? This is exactly what we do. Hi, my name is Omer, and I'm a co-founder and CEO of BeeHero. We are increasing crop yields by empowering the most fragile link in our food chain, the bee. When we think of bees, most of us think of honey, but bees play a much more significant role in our life. Pollination. In fact, 1/3 of everything we eat is dependent on honeybee pollination, but they are dying. For the last 10 years, the quality of beehives all around the world is decreasing, and the mortality rates are between 30 to 40% annually. There is an $800 billion industry that depends on this little and amazing insect. And if this situation continues, it will affect each and every one of us. The only reason bees still exist today is the commercial beekeepers, but they are struggling to keep their colonies healthy, not to mention alive. And farmers who need pollination services suffers from insufficient pollination and huge crop loss of billions of dollars annually. We have used technology-driven approach to generate an ecosystem where everyone wins, the farmers, the beekeepers, and everyone who eats food. By installing our sensors, as you can see behind me, and uploading the data using a gateway, we managed to collect all the data we need for our algorithms. We have used machine learning technologies to build a recursive neural network that receives 3 types of input: hive sensing, environmental parameters, and the beekeeper's know-how. Our algorithm analyzes the data and can predict beehive disorders before it damages the colony. For example, when the queen is missing, the colony will collapse in a few days, and we can detect a missing queen situation and alert the beekeepers on time when they can still save the colony. Our technology results with stronger, healthier, and much more efficient beehives. No more struggle for beekeepers to maintain strong and healthy colonies, and farmers get access to super strong hives that provide full pollination and can increase yields by up to 70%. The ability to generate extra food from every acre is one of the world's next challenges. Being conservative, taking 20% crop yield increase over $800 billion industry, we generate extra crop yields worth more than $160 billion. Currently, we are focused on providing pollination services to farmers to increase their yields. This is based on partnerships we are building with commercial beekeepers all around the world. And once we have enough data and enough hives, we will start selling the data about the pollination quality to insurance companies and hedge funds, because this is a crucial point in generating the crop yields. There are several types of competitors, but we are the only one focused on both improving crop yields based on affordable and scalable technology. Our team is a combination of great, ambitious, and well-experienced people. Itai is a second-generation beekeeper who operated the largest apiary in Israel. Michal is our product manager who managed teams in building some of the best products out there. And I'm a technological expert with previous experience in founding and selling companies. After a successful POC, full grant from the Israeli chief scientist and the Israeli Institute of Technology, running pilots with 25% of the Israeli beekeeping market, and a committed pilot with the largest almond grower in the world from California, we need more money to move forward. I know it seems like one of those far things, but no matter what you like to eat or even drink, this will affect you. And together, we can reverse the damage. Thank you.
Okay, questions from judges?
Yeah, hi. Could you explain your business model a little bit? Who is paying for this and how does it work? And is it subscription? I mean, like the software, can you explain that a little bit better?
Definitely. So we are about building partnership with commercial beekeepers. We save them money on the expense level, and then we help them to monetize their beehives in a better way because they sell better hives to farmers. So in this partnership that we are building, we are doing rev share to this delta that they make. It enables us to get approximately $200 per hive per year.
Hello. So why are the bees dying off? What's going on?
So the name of the phenomena, I mean, it started 10 years ago. It calls colony collapse disorder. People used to think it relates to the cellular network, but today they say it's not. There are four main vectors. We have the monoculture, which is huge, a lot of amount of acres of the same crops, which is not diverse diet for the bees. You have the urbanization, which doesn't help. We have pesticide, which is probably the worst things for the bee. And then we have the globalization. I mean, mites that were only in China are now all over the world because people are moving hives all around the world.
So it sounds like from the sensing that what you're able to do is determine that there's anomalous behavior on the hive. So help me with what's the intervention and does it prevent the continued loss of bees?
So if we look at the health level of the colony, it looks like this. And in 80% of the situations, if you early detect the problem, you can fix it. So our ability to predict and even early detect the problem. Yeah.
So you have data on that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit hard in 5 minutes, but what we have managed to do is to early detect 80% of the reason bee colonies collapse today. We still have more work to do. I mean, we didn't finish developing our technology. And in those cases, if we alert the beekeeper on time with actionable alert, they can save the colony.
Can you talk a little bit about how the product works? You said it's a hardware product. Is it attached to the colony, next to the colony? How does it work? What is it sensing?
Definitely. So the hardware itself is not very sophisticated. It's a small sensor that you put inside the hive on the middle comb, and then it starts to transmit the data. And the challenging part was to build the algorithm, the ability to get the insights from this data. So from the hive itself, we collect the temperature, the humidity, the sound, and the weight of the hive. And then we have the environmental parameters from the bee yard itself, which is the microclimate, the crop type, I mean, where the hives are distributed. And then we have the know-how of the beekeeper, which is how to treat the colonies and the genetic lines of the queen and the biology behind this. And all this together enable us to do those predictions and to find those patterns.
Questions from jury?
Hi, so just trying to get a sense of the total available market. So you said $200 per hive is your potential annual revenue. How many hives are there in the world that you could sell to?
So there are approximately 95 million beehives, but approximately 80% belongs to commercial beekeepers. We are dealing only with commercial beekeepers, not hobbyists and sideliners. So you get...
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, beehive.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before we move in with the next company, I would like the jury to introduce themselves very quickly. Who has the mic?
Hi, Laird Kagan, Kagan McAfee Capital Partners. We invest across all technologies.
Mary Jo Potter, CEO of Healthcare Angels, obviously healthcare. Also an LP in Purple Arch, Northwestern University's fund, member of Health Tech Capital, and GP in Keiretsu Capital.
Hi, I'm Mark Lockereff with ClearPath Partners. I'm an angel investor focusing mainly on B2B SaaS businesses. I'm also on the investment committee of a venture firm in Europe called Black River Ventures, but that's more Series B transatlantic deals. And then I have a growing interest in social impact investing.
Hi, I'm Nancy Hayes. I'm an angel investor across a wide variety of sectors, including impact investing, and I focus on women-led organizations.
Hi, I'm Stu Soffer from Palo Alto Menlo Park. I do technical due diligence of companies for investors and M&A. My background is comp sci and intellectual property, and I do angel investing.
Hi, my name is Dmitry Kolchin. I'm from Palo Alto local, angel investing in hardware.
Great, thank you. So our next company is Harvesting. Harvesting connects finance with farmers globally through agriculture intelligence agent.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? So because Greg said, tell a story, I'll drop a story here. I grew up in India, and when I was about 9, we lost everything after my father died. And we had to move the whole family in a 10 by 10 room. That was our bedroom, kitchen, and everything. I would go bicycle 30 kilometers a day to go to the college. And that financial security or insecurity kind of stuck with me growing as a kid. So when I had exit in 2015, I thought, I have some buffer. Why don't I use all the efficiency or resources I have here in Silicon Valley and do something out there for the people who need the most help of the technology out there. So at the Harvesting, what we are doing is we are trying to measure every farm in the world at the global scale so that we can drive financial inclusion for the farmers. So there are about 500 million small farm holders which are responsible for feeding 80% of entire humanity. And that is equal to $2.3 trillion economy. And these are the farmers, which are not the farmers we have in California. These are the small farmers with average size of 2 hectares or below. And they are amongst the poorest of the poor and have no or poor access to the financial products such as loans or insurance. Yet, these are the people, the fundamental building blocks, which are feeding the 80% of the human race. If you look at the issues very closely, there are 3 primary issues a small farm holder faces today: access to input, access to finance, and access to market. And all these 3 issues, fundamental, are information issue. So if you have an information, if you can fill the information gap between the farms and the farmers and anyone else in the agriculture value chain, you can fundamentally change the way these people live, the family they depend, those depend on them, and the 5 billion plus people who depend on food for them. So, as I was saying, availability of timely, accurate, and affordable agriculture intelligence at scale is critical for global food security, and that's what we are, passionate about solving. So at Harvesting, we are building a global scale agriculture intelligence engine, where the goal is that if I throw a dart on the globe and wherever it hits, our engine would be able to tell whether it is a cropland, what is the type of the crop, what is the health of the crop, and even what is the yield. Now imagine these are the basic building blocks for entire agriculture across the globe. And we are already doing that for many regions now. So to attain that, what we have done is we have built a high-performance computing environment using Google Cloud, where we have thousands and thousands of computers running parallelly, processing the satellite data coming in from NASA satellites, Landsat and MODIS, and European Space Agency satellites called Sentinel. We are reconciling that data coming from the on-ground sources so that we can verify and validate these data points, and then using all that insights to build solutions which can be sold to the agricultural lender, because we need to make some money there as well. So our first solution there is to provide a FICO-like score for small farm holders, and we have done so already in Uganda with the help of World Bank CGAP, and have enabled 5,000 farmers there to have first ever credit score system. So currently, we are using all this data point for agri-lending, where there is a gap of $200 billion of extra financing which is needed. But as you can imagine, these common building blocks can be used for driving crop insurance, futures market, precision, and so on and so forth. The opportunity here is tremendous. I have built around an exceptional team, which includes several PhD scientists. Some of them have spent 20 years in high-performance computing, remote sensing, and doing research around multi-continent, including Asia, Europe, and Australia. So we have built some early traction. We are already live in Uganda. We have over $1 million worth of proposals in flight. About 100 plus financial institutions from across the world who are in discussion. Some of them include some of the very, very large agri-lending banks, impact banks, and even private sector banks who have multi-billion-dollar agri-lending holdings with them. So we have raised so far about $500,000 from a family office. We are in process of raising about $5 million. We already have a bunch of leads with us, and you could see, we believe that we'll be making about $100 million in about 6 to 7 years of time frame from now, and we plan to raise another round in 18 to 20 months after this close. That's pretty much it. Thank you. My name is Ruchit, founder CEO of Harvesting.
So I feel I deserve the first question here because I failed at this from 2010 to 2011. So first, let me ask a question about how do you deliver the intelligence to the smallholder farmer?
So intent is to help farmers, but we realized quickly that it would be very hard to scale if I build a solution which farmer needs to buy. So we looked a step up and we built a solution which is for agri-lenders because they have the scale and they have a money to buy our solution. So if I reduce the cost of operations for them, if it makes it easy for them to do business, we hope that that will reduce into, which will make it easier for farmers to...
But you've got to get the knowledge to me. Is it paper? Is it voice over a 2G phone? How are you going to get the knowledge?
To the lender?
No, to the farmer.
No, so here's a scenario. So a farmer walks into a bank or an MFI. And MFI is sitting on the other side.
I got it. I want the other folks to be able to ask questions.
Sure.
The venture was called Tribal Shout.
Okay.
I'd be happy to share with you why we failed. And it sounds like there's some complementarity.
Would love to
chat.
more. Yeah, thank you.
I got a question for you. When you look at the impact here, are you looking at better redistribution of funds already in Uganda, using Uganda as an example, or are you tracking flow of additional funds into the country to these farmers?
To start with, and for us to be successful, what we are doing is we are looking at can we reduce the operational cost for the agri lenders? And can we reduce the turnaround time for the farmers to get the loan? Because I think these are the two pieces which will improve our adoption across the MFIs or private sector unit banks and whatnot. And from there, we can go into other metrics.
Okay, now I asked the question just because coming from a Kiva perspective, the hook to get new money in, if there's lower default rates or if there's higher impact, I think there's a different pot of money that can flow through your pipes.
Right, but irrespective, I think even in Kiva, although you don't have to give returns, you would like to be able to give loan to the farmers who have better creditworthiness. So we fit in irrespective whether it is a for-profit money or non-profit money.
So if I'm an MFI and the farmer comes in, as you were starting to say, what data do you actually give the lender? And how do you get that data?
So idea here is when you walk in and say, I am from this village and I grow rice. As a lender, I'm from a financial institution. I have no idea about agriculture. Think of us as a translator which translates the language of agriculture into financial institution. So based on the ID system, if we have one there, we triangulate which village it is from, and based on the geo coordinates of that village, we figure out how far that is from the water, from the city, from the market, what kind of crop have been historically for 15 years, and if we have exact coordinate of the farm, we can even tell whether the farmer has been doing something or not there, which is very, very essential, because if you look at it, the best assessment of cash flow for the farmers is what is standing on the farm, and that has been out of equation, and most of these credit transactions are happening on the face value.
Is there data to show that there is any correlation between this data and the ability of the farmer to pay relative to other factors that are more community-oriented?
So we don't have substantial data to say for sure that this new data set is working, especially for credit risk score systems we have. But we say for sure because some of the pilots we are working have been credited successful, and we are now going 4 times bigger with the existing customers. So we have early signs, but we don't have very qualitative results yet. Agriculture being a long cycle, it will take us some time to get a really good, solid metrics out there, which can be shareable.
I like how ambitious the idea is, and I like how you frame the different uses of the data and how you plan to go after one revenue stream after another. Strikes me that credit scoring for smallholder farmers might be one of the hardest places to start. What made you decide to start there?
I think we somehow got into it. I mean, I started, that wasn't the first thing we thought we would do it. I started looking into crop insurance first. And I just realized that it was very hard for me to break into crop insurance for some reason. And we started getting a lot more queries and inquiries from the lending side of the business. And if you look at the lending, there are 2 or 3 things which lenders want. One, can I give loan to this farmer, which is creditworthiness. After I give a loan, I want to know loan is getting utilized. So we have already built another system. I haven't talked about loan monitoring system. So if I have given loan to you and you have not done anything in your farm for next 20 days, I have built an alert system so that a lender can know, oh, I need to give this guy a visit. So it just happened, I think, by back and forth, whatever market told us to do, so we did so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next company we have is Sown to Grow. It's a platform that empowers students and helps them learn how to learn.
This one right here? Okay. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Silicon Valley futurist Alvin Toffler. Very, very well said. My name is Rupa, and I'm co-founder and CEO of Sown to Grow. I spent 10 years in management and nonprofit consulting at Bain & Company in the Bridgespan Group, and years ago made the professional move into K-12 education. I've spent several years as an administrator in San Jose Unified School District, most recently leading school transformation in schools serving low-income communities. It was here that the concept of Sown to Grow was born, in the classroom, with teachers, and with students. Sown to Grow is a student goal-setting and reflection platform that builds better learners. A 5th grader that I worked with is a great example of how it works. When I first met Jonathan, he was struggling with his weekly vocabulary quiz, despite persistently studying the definitions like his teachers had asked. He was working really hard and still not getting it, and he told me, I must not be smart enough for this. Researchers call this a fixed mindset, and it can be debilitating for students. Learners with a growth mindset, however, understand that people aren't born smart. They become smart with hard work, the right effort, and feedback. These learners are significantly more successful in academics, career, and life. But Jonathan's not alone. Less than half of students today embody growth mindset. And in low-income student populations, that number is closer to 10%. These ideas are now pervasive in education. In a recent national survey, 97% of teachers said they believe in its value and importance. But only 5% said that they have tools and strategies to shift student mindset. I felt this gap firsthand at my school, and I prototyped for 2 years to solve it. With the help of the Imagine K-12 Accelerator, now Y Combinator EdTech, we launched last school year. So in our software, students set learning goals, enter their own scores to track progress, and reflect on learning strategies to continuously improve. When they build and practice these skills, incredible things happen to shift mindset. So for Jonathan, he starts by setting a goal for himself and then puts in his own score on his vocab quiz. With the score, we prompt a quick but powerful emotional check-in, followed by a written reflection. This is where the magic happens. Jonathan was an English learner, and he realized he didn't always understand the definitions, the words and the definitions that he kept studying. Instead of doing the same thing over and over again, he's prompted to try something new. He sees that the problem isn't with him, it's with his approach, and with Sown to Grow, he learns how to find the right one. Teachers provide support and guidance and feedback. Our system provides evidence-based strategies. And more excitingly, we're building machine learning technology to help students find the right strategies even faster. Our visualizations connect growth with specific actions and strategies. And as a result, students feel more ownership, build confidence in their ability to learn, but also figure out how to improve. Critical skills for lifelong learning and future success. We've done the research to know that this works. In an independent evaluation done by a researcher at UCLA, students who use Sown to Grow earn significantly higher academic GPAs versus a control group. And the difference is even greater for students who are behind. Feedback from teachers has been inspiring. It makes me a better teacher. It allows me to lead with purpose. And it's way more actionable than anything else I've used. We're proud to have 35,000 teachers and students on our platform so far. We ran revenue pilots this school year and converted dozens of schools to paid contracts, and 90% of them are renewing and expanding in a significant way, expanding their contracts in a significant way. We know that distribution in K-12 is a challenge, and we're excited to announce our partnership with the Core Collaborative, a national professional development organization that gives us access, direct access, to hundreds of schools and hundreds of thousands of students. We're in active conversations with additional distribution partners as well. Our K-12 is the foundation of a much bigger vision. We empower students with learning skills, critical to participate in our evolving economy. And it turns out that reflection skills make us all better at our jobs. We see the potential to serve adult learners in the workforce one day. Our team is uniquely positioned to make this vision a reality with education, business, and technical experience. We are currently raising our seed round and would love to have you join us for the journey. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Questions?
So one quick question on distribution. As you said, hard to sell into school districts. Have you thought about plugging into existing apps that already have significant traction within schools? Because adaptive learning platforms or behavior assessment platforms, Front Row, Class Dojo, both have had significant traction.
Yeah.
And it feels this could be a really nice add-on that you get paid for.
Yeah, we haven't gone down the path of partnering with content providers, mostly because the feedback that we've gotten from teachers is like the goal setting and reflective process in the classroom kind of needs to be all-encompassing. It's not something that I can just do on, when I'm working on IXL but not do on other things. So the feedback from teachers is like, I'm either in this for my classroom or I'm not. The place we are having conversations is in, there's a kind of a swell of personalized learning platforms that are more comprehensive in nature, but frankly, we are in conversations with many that have, are having a hard time getting the specific niche right. Like we're kind of building the engine around the student-led reflective journey. So that's where we're kind of having the most conversations right now, yeah.
So how does it actually work? I was one of those bad learners. So I get reflection like ooh, and goal setting, but is there actually how does it actually work?
So students in our system, and I can click back. Let's see if I can click back. Ooh. Click back a bit. I have a lot of animation. Okay, so students, so basically a teacher sets up a frame in their classroom, and what I mean by that is they'll kind of decide what things kids will be setting goals and reflecting on. So an example might be on, like the case I made here was a vocabulary quiz, but oftentimes it's on a standard, like on a learning target, something like that. Kids then set a goal for kind of how they want to achieve. They put into our system, and we have, this isn't totally accurate in terms of what it looks like in the platform. They choose kind of a color on what they're shooting for. When they get feedback on how they did, they put that number or that color into the system. And then in the moment, they put in a reflection, say how they felt about their performance, and put in a reflection on what would I do differently? What's a different action or strategy that I can take, or what strategies work for me? They type in a couple sentences describing their learning process and what they would do differently next time. Teachers then can see that aggregated across all their students and give feedback to individual students. So as an example, and I'll be the first to say, reflection is a skill just like anything else. You get better at it with practice and feedback. So if a student says, well, what would you do differently next time? And I as a student say, I'm gonna try harder. Not super specific, not very. Teachers can give feedback in our platform and say, tell me what specific things you're gonna do to try harder. Are you gonna review differently? Are you gonna partner with a friend? Are you gonna quiz yourself? Are you gonna, come to me for help after school so I can help you, like, what are the specific actions you're gonna take? And we found, actually in that same research that was done by our UCLA research partner, she found that the quality of student reflections, like the beginning of the semester, they do say things like, I'm gonna try harder, I'm gonna study more, not very specific. But by the end of the semester, they're saying very specific things around actions and strategies that they're going to use. So they get better at the process of figuring out their own next steps. Does that make sense? Okay.
So what metrics are you collecting to show that this is actually working?
I'll go back to it.
Is your software automatically collecting metrics, or does the teacher have to do something at the end of the process?
So we collect a few different metrics, I would say. So one is kind of in our impact work. We, of course, identify, so with the conversation earlier around theory of change, we actually have the researcher that we worked with kind of worked with us to build a theory of change and logic model with specific intermediate outcomes and ultimate outcomes. So we have measurements around what we would kind of look at to see at each step of the way, which we strive to collect every year. We of course look at business metrics around kind of teacher adoption, engaged users. We have found that students have the most impact if they're using our platform at least every week or every other week. So that's something that we look at, like how many kids are using our platform every week or every other week. Yeah, and I think there's a variety of business metrics on conversion and whatnot that we look at. I mean, I think one of the things that we have found being a mission-driven organization, I think we're in a kind of a, I like to think that our mission and our business model are very aligned. Like the more people who use our product, the more kids who use our product, the better off those kids are. As opposed, I'd worked in the past in healthcare where maybe, the more services I render, maybe not the better off people are. So I think for us, like if we can align those things, but make sure we're measuring along our theory of change to make sure we're not unintentionally widening inequity gaps or unintentionally having a poor outcome on kids, it's a great thing. Yeah.
Questions from jury?
Yep. Again, good presentation. Again, thinking about scaling, what do you think, a year from now, 18 months, whatever, what will your average price to a school be? How much will they invest? And what is your cost against that? So we can understand the model a bit.
Yeah, so our pricing, we have two different models when it comes to our licensing. So we have a per teacher license, which is designed for, I'm an individual teacher at a school, I'm fired up about this, I just want to try it without having to convince my whole school to do it. So that's $150 per teacher per year, and that includes all of the students that you work with. As it grows at an individual school, and there's a lot of shared students and whatnot, we have a per student licensing model, $6 per student per year, which is then when you kind of get to a whole school or site license. We also offer kind of more, not recurring revenue, but especially in the first year of implementation, professional development coaching services that we give to especially school teams to help them implement kind of in a way that's successful for kids. So for us right now, our average per school from this school year was about $400 per school. That's not where we want it to be. I think our target next year, based on contracts we've already closed for next school year, we're getting to $1,200 per school. And the goal is to get to, I think the sweet spot is like $3,000 to $4,000 per school. Does that make sense? And then, for kind of your question about where do we see ourselves 18 months from now or a year from now, I mean, I think in this coming school year, within the next 2 school years, we should be reaching 1 million students. No problem. I mean, that's the goal. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, now our judges, name the company you liked most. We'll start with Galina since she's talking.
I really like Beehive because I think this is an issue. And they're solving it.
I hope Countable is successful.
I like the last company, the education company. Although selling to schools would be hard, but it's a well-articulated mission.
I like Beehive. It's a huge addressable market and a big problem, and I really like Sown to Grow as well. It's a difficult problem that both educators and parents are trying to solve in terms of trying to change how children think about development.
Okay. Matthew?
So I actually liked all of them, but since I have to name some, I do like Countable. It's also, I have to say, it's a company we've invested in, so just disclosure there. But I think there is definite potential there. I also quite liked, I like the edtech space and the education space. So yeah, Sown to Grow was another one that I really liked.
I liked Sown to Grow the best, a very relatively straightforward intervention, an important one, and it was very well presented and pitched.
I like Countable because I hope that things move toward being able to vote on everything, and I hope that becomes a platform for expressive democratization.
And I like Sown to Grow, just intervention for lifelong learning.
Thank you, judges. Please complete your scores, and we would like to thank once again Google for providing us laptops. And I would like to make the announcement that this panel was sponsored by Gooddler Foundation, and Galina wants to say additional few words on that.
Yeah, I just want to, those of you who don't know what Gooddler Foundation is, I'd like to introduce myself. I am a director of Gooddler Foundation. It is an educational foundation, and our goal is to teach young people, high school or college age, how to blend philanthropy and business to create sustainable businesses. And we work around the world, on a curriculum where we teach young people to think how to become job creators versus job seekers. This is very important problem we're solving, and we're solving so by creating strategic alliances between different partners to solve specific problems in the region where we asked to do so. So we have two events this year that we would like. Actually, we have few things that would like you to get involved, those of you who are interested in it. First one, we have Social Impact Youth Summit that will take place October 20th, 21st. For those of you who have children of a high school or college age, or those of you who have access to schools, high schools, middle schools, and colleges, please contact us. We'll give you more information to share with your students. We also have Social Impact Youth Incubator that takes place this summer. It's a 12-week entrepreneurship program for youth here in Silicon Valley, and that's our pilot program for a project that will take place in Jordan at Zarqa University that will include students from that university who are refugees from Zarqa camp, and together with students from Zarqa University from host country, from Jordan. And these are the projects that we're having this year, and if you're interested in being involved in any capacity, please come and talk to me. Thank you. Thank you for all the judges for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Thank you.